Hello, my name's Pete Jennings and welcome to a short presentation on black dogs of East Anglia and beyond. Enjoy it. Winston Churchill called his depression the black dog, and Led Zeppelin recorded a song of that name. However, ghostly black dogs are described in great detail in British folklore. Large black spectral hounds with glowing red eyes bear many names: Black Shuck, Old Shug, Gallytrot, Hateful Thing, Gyrtrash, Padfoot, and Barghuest. Black Shuck, the most common East Anglian name, is a psychopomp, which means it's an omen of death. There are two famous stories of Black Shuck entering churches. At St Mary's, Bungay in Suffolk is the first, and the Bungay incident of the 4th of August 1577 was written up by Abraham Fleming in a black letter pamphlet. Although it was August, there was said to be a thunderstorm overhead at the time. A man and a boy in the congregation were killed. As a psychopomp, there is a belief that looking directly into Black Shuck's saucer-like fiery eyes will cause death or disaster either instantly or within 12 months. Incidentally, there's a druid stone in the churchyard. If you run round it 3 times at midnight, you're reckoned to meet the devil. A second visit by Black Shuck was made on the same date at All Saints Church in Blythburgh, Suffolk, and you can see a burnt claw mark on the north door of the latter church credited to him. At Blythburgh, part of the tower crashed down, and again 2 of the congregation were killed. Back in the 1970s and 1980s, I used to visit the Putley Oyster Pub in Suffolk for folk sessions. They also used to have a points team, which is an East Anglian game. One of the old chaps used to wheel his bike down the steep hill to get to the oyster. You can see it in the picture there on the left. One night he ended in a terrible state. He said he'd encountered an enormous dog in the road with staring eyes. He kept walking and it went right through him. Most folks reckon it must have been Black Shuck, and a few months later he died. The odd thing was that most of the customers believed the tale for what happened afterwards. There was another old boy who said, "Oh, you do look queer. Here's a brandy to get down you." Now, he'd never been known to buy anyone else a drink in his life and rarely bought his own. And so that was reckoned to be the proof. Further up on the Suffolk coast, there have been other sightings of Black Shuck in Cove Hythe and Lowestoft. Cove Hythe is unusual because there's a church within inside the ruins of an older church, and the cliffs are all falling away there, and maybe there won't be a church at all one day. In one case, Black Shuck was believed to be a blasphemer who'd been changed in shape because of his blasphemy. Elsewhere, the black dog was reported at Hunstanton Cliffs in Norfolk, the Malden and Dengies area of Essex, Littleport in Cambridge, and Dereham in Norfolk. In many other areas of the country, black dogs have been associated with the wild hunt, but I've always felt that Black Shuck is a solitary creature. Phantom packs of hounds elsewhere include the Gabriel Hounds of Somerset, the Gabriel Ratchets of Devon, the Yeth Hounds or Wisht Hounds of Worcestershire. There's the Seven Whistlers of Wales, Andoni's Dandy Dogs or the Hounds of Anoon in Ireland, and the Wild Hunt of the Sith and Unseelie Court of Scotland. And finally, the Household of Harlequin from France. Saint Guthlac, who was an Anglo-Saxon living as a hermit on an island in the Fens at Crowland, Cambridgeshire, in the early 8th century, not far from Peterborough, was beset by spectral creatures attacking him, including Black Shuck. Apparently, they became extra aggressive when he sang psalms, and he's pictured with a whip to keep them away. This is the same sort of reason that was blamed for Grendel attacking the hall in Beowulf, and yet more evidence linking the poem with an East Anglian origin. Phantom black dogs with red saucer-like eyes roam from Maldon in Essex, around the East Anglian coast, and up to York in Yorkshire, where it's normally known as the Barghuest. Generally, it's a psychopomp which presages death. Shuck is thought to come from the Old English word scucker, shucker, which means a demon, as in the description of Grendel and his mother in Beowulf. Grendel himself may be named after Grindle, an East Anglian dialect word for a wet place. Okay, some questions and theories. If Black Shuck is a psychopomp causing people to die, how do people know this? How have they reported it? Unless they didn't die until later. There's a chap called Ted Diprose who had a theory, which was published in the old Ipswich magazine that I used to read it. Could the black dog be a filger or a magical fetch sent out to clear the way by marauding Vikings in what became the Danelaw area? Because sightings of Black Shuck are rarely very far from the coast. Now, some folk tales say that these black dogs are ghosts and survivors of shipwrecks. So could they be inspired as folk memories by the many maritime disasters on the east coast? Some uninformed people have pointed to Woden, Odin's companion, but he had two wolves, Frecky and Jerry, Greedy Guts and Gobbler. So not a solitary dog. Woden is seen as a popular leader of the wild hunt, but as I've said before, Black Shuck is usually solitary. So are black dogs complete fantasies? I think mitigating against that, but there's inscriptions over a number of centuries which are remarkably consistent over time and distance. There was a skeleton of a giant male dog excavated in 2014 at the site of Leiston Abbey in Suffolk. It was estimated to be 7 foot high, standing erect, and weighing about 200 pounds. Now, it was buried over the top of the old kitchen site. The kitchen would have been destroyed in the dissolution of the monastery, so that would have been no later than 1541, and it was buried over that layer. Carbon dating indicated the date of 1650 to 1690, which would correlate with that. Long after my original researches, I found an excellent book on the subject of the black dog, Black Shuck, and it even quotes me. Explore Phantom Black Dogs, edited by L.B. Stone, was the first effort to look at the psychology of the phenomena, along with the folklore, and can really be recommended. There are also some good fictional tales based upon the legend, and there's a sample of one or two of those books on your screen. If rock music is one more thing, the Lowestoft band Darkness recorded a song about Black Shuck on their first album. Unfortunately, they only found one word rhyming with Shuck, and so it never got played on the radio. They could have used luck, I suppose, but they didn't. And of course, it's Black Dog by Zeppelin. Originally, I wrote a book, Wild Hunt and its followers, which included all this information about Black Shuck as well. It's long out of print, But what has happened is it's been incorporated into a collection of some of my shorter works called When the Sea Turned to Beer, and that's available from Amazon along with many other books that I've written. So thanks for viewing this film. There are some others on the Pete Jennings YouTube channel that you might be interested in. One about the Valkyries and another one, Blacksmith Gods. But thanks for viewing. Bye.